That's what this looks like.
No, I see. I didn't even. Were you sitting there when I ran in? Or did you just get here?
No, I've been sitting here.
We're on. All right.
I saw
I
you
think
look
I
the
know
other
what
way.
I did last time.
I hope I didn't wake you up.
Well, the weird
No,
part is he
I
said it
tried
went for 2
before.
minutes.
Well, I was already away from it by then.
I'm going to message you now that
This won't stop.
Turn it off.
she's up with
We're online.
my phone right there.
Call the meeting to order at 6:32, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
George Cullis,
Here.
Steve Ruth,
Here.
Patrick Feeney,
Here.
Mark Freeman,
Here.
Karen Winchester.
Here.
Okay, the consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial. They do not require discussion by the Township Board and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired on an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will automatically be removed to the last item under new business.
I move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Support. Moved by Clerk Winchester, support by Trustee Ruth, to approve consent agenda as presented. Roll call, please.
Pat Feeney,
Yes.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
George Cullis,
Yes.
Karen Winchester.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, public hearings, we have none. We do, however, have a presentation by the Holly Area Youth Coalition, Mr. Nick Klemp. And Suzanne Susan Papple. We have Susan, we have Suzanne, we have all these different people in town with these Susan names. I gotta get them straight. It's Suzanne Heipel, Susan Papple. Okay.
Yes.
So this is Susan Papple, Nick Klemp, you're on. Step up the mic.
You want me to step up to the mic? Okay. I can usually talk pretty loud, though, anyway.
I know, but we have people, we're on film.
Oh,
So if you can
all right.
turn that toward you, Nick, you can give her hand. There we go.
Like this? All right. Got it. So I'm Susan Papple, and myself, along with Nick Klemp, we're the co-directors of the Holly Area Community Coalition. We were in years past the Youth Coalition, but we changed. No, that's all right. We changed our name, and we still, in a lot of documents, still have Youth Coalition, so that's fine. I just wanted to let you know. And part of that is because we, at one time, were mostly youth-focused, but then when we got a Drug-Free Communities grant, we became, obviously, Drug-Free Communities, we became more community-minded, and our monies were to reach out into the community more, which is one of the first things that I wanted to tell you, and thank you very much for having us here today. We are excited to receive in October, starting October 1st, our 10th year of the Drug-Free Communities Grant. And while that's super exciting, it's a little bit sad at the same time because at 10 years, that's like the end of that cycle. And so it'll be our last year for this Drug-Free Communities Grant, which was bringing $125,000 to our community to do programs throughout the community. So, and we're very excited and we're very proud of all that we've been able to accomplish in these past 10 years with those monies. we've been able to, like I said, reach out a lot more to the community, and we've made a lot of community partners. And part of that is why we came today, just because we haven't been to the township meeting in a while, and we wanted to just update you on a few of the things that we have been doing here. So I also want to mention that in addition to that 10th year Drug-Free Communities Grant, we also received our 3rd year of an Oakland County Health Network, the Office of Substance Abuse Prevention from Oakland County, another grant, and that allows us to do programs throughout the community. We work in the elementary schools, and I'm going to mention in a minute some of the things we do with that. And then we also receive another grant from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, which is our umbrella organization in Oakland County. We are a part of 19 coalitions throughout Oakland County, and we meet with them monthly to discuss different things that we can do throughout Oakland County, and then we get ideas from them of things that we can do here in our own community, and each one, tailors their coalition to their community. So every 2 years we we gather data from the students, and we do this through the MyFi, or Michigan Profile for Healthy Youth survey, and we surveyed the students in January of this year. We surveyed 7th, 9th, and 11th grade students, and we have so I have some information. I did bring one of our key findings reports, which has all of the data in it. I'm not going to go over it all for you, but certainly this is available to anyone, and I'll just leave this for anyone who might be interested. But while we have some concerns which dictate some of the programs that we will be doing in the next year, the overall picture of Holly students is very good. The data shows that 9th and 11th grade students report between 75 and 80% do not use alcohol. Between 77 and 84% do not use marijuana, and only a very small percent, hardly worth mentioning, students who might use prescription drugs that aren't prescribed for them. So this is really great. So the majority of our kids are not using. Of course, there are some concerns that we want 100%, but so we're always working for the rest of those students. And one of the areas that we are concerned is the percentage of students who perceive alcohol and marijuana as not risky. So, and that has gone down from last year. So for alcohol, it's been staying kind of steady, and we have seen regularly marijuana go down since the passage of the medical marijuana law here in Michigan. But so with that data going down, what typically happens when kids don't see it as risky is then the use is going to start going up. So that's one of our concerns, and so it's very important for us to help youth understand some of the risks of alcohol and other drugs, and so that we can, we continue to educate them and their families on the risks of using these drugs, so that they can have a healthier future. The youth are our main goal with the coalition, and so that's why a lot of our programs address the youth. We have an elementary and middle school program called Life Skills Training, where we go to every elementary building and teach them some skills they need, not just drug prevention information, but tools that they can use, good communication, decision-making tools that they can use to make their own good decisions. We also do an asset mentoring program in all 5th grade classes, and with that, the mentoring part of that is where our high school students go to each one of the buildings and talk to the 5th graders about building assets in themselves and trying to stay above the influence of some of those negative things that they're going to be involved in. We also do what's called Safe, Smart, and Successful in middle school. It's a lunch program at our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade building, the middle school. And then that same Safe, Smart, and Successful we use for a summer camp for 5th graders going into 6th grade. And it's a fabulous curriculum that has 5 different character buildings in the series and 5 different drugs that we address and help kids learn about. We do an Above the Influence. It's a transition program for 8th graders going into 9th grade. We have a Youth Dialogue Day, which was last week, that got canceled because of the weather on Friday, but where we have community members community leaders meet with students and get their input on what they think is needed in our Holly community and Holly schools. And so from there, we do different programs with them. Nick also is a Safe Talk trained, which is a suicide prevention program. We do that in the community. And all told, we service last year about 1,400 students directly. So we feel that we're reaching out to a lot. I mean, that is with our programs. And then we have some even bigger things that we have, like 250 with our downtown teen block party. And then we have a big tailgate event up at the high school where we invite families to get together to do things that don't involve drugs or alcohol, so it's in a nice, safe environment. We have our high school youth action board, which is an after-school program, and they do programs, peer-led programs throughout the school. And then at the middle school, we also have a stand group, Students Taking a New Direction, and they do the same thing. They come up with the programs, the kids do, and then they teach their peers, basically, and we have different programs throughout the middle school for that. Different positive campaigns to educate, not just on drugs and alcohol, but also on bullying, texting and driving, just leadership skills, things like that. So through these programs, so I said we've reached so many students, and we're very happy to be a partner with the schools. They are very generous in allowing us to do these programs within the schools and to help the kids make safe and drug-free choices, just so that they will grow up with a happy, healthy life. So I want to thank you all for your support, and we've always feel very supported. George has been at a couple of our youth dialogue days. I think you were at one too, Mark. So it's been great to have you and your support. I also have a couple of our annual reports from this year. Tells a little bit about our programs. So I'll leave those too in case anyone wants a little more information about our programs. And then Nick has one other thing that he wants to talk to you about regarding our coalition.
Susan,
Yes.
Before Nick comes up,
Yes.
does anybody on the board have a question for Susan?
Actually, I did.
Okay.
On a couple of statistics you had about the 9th and 11th graders,
Mhm.
75% no alcohol, 70% no marijuana. How does that compare to other Oakland County schools and the nation?
Well, let me tell you. So, and in fact, I'll just give this to you, and you can take a look at it. Our key finding report actually has it compared to Oakland County. I have to say, with the 9th grade and alcohol, we are at 17% for alcohol, while the county is at 12%, 12.3, 17.3. With our 11th graders, we are a little bit lower, 25.3, and these are kids who have said that they've drank in the past 30 days, while Oakland County was 29.2. And then again, we're higher with the 9th grade for marijuana, 15.6, while we were 10.6 with the county. And then 11th grade, again, is a little bit lower in marijuana use than the county, with 23.1 for Holly and 25.1 for the county. And I do have to note that it's with this MiFi, it's an electional thing. No district has to do it. Mm-hmm. So we chose to do it, and it's not reflective of every school, but it's a lot of schools. So, okay. But I'll leave this with you, and then you can take a look at that.
Thanks.
Did you have something else?
I was just going to, with a follow-up to that, is there any separation based on grade point average of those?
We can access that.
Okay.
I mean, we have the data that I could put that together.
Okay, I was curious.
Because we do ask their grades, and we do have an evaluator that could compare that information.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One question I had, you mentioned the $125,000 grant. This is your last year for that.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to affect your programming, and are you taking steps to find replacement for that fund?
Well, we are going to be writing for possibly another grant. There is another one that is offered by the federal government in regards to alcohol. So that is one thing that we are looking at right now. And we are looking at additional fundraising. So that's something that's going to be really important. And one of the things that I did forget to mention that if anything I've said here, or if you want to take a look at this, any community member who has a passion for, our kids, or, maybe you've had someone in your life who's had substance issues and you have a passion for this, we are looking for some new board members too at this time. So that might be something that would be helpful. But to answer your question more pointedly, is we are looking at doing some more fundraising to make that, fill that gap. And there's going to be some things that we're just going to lose. Some of the environmental things that we've done, like we've done several PSAs at the Trillium. It's kind of costly, but it's like it reaches so many hundreds of people, thousands of people. The Trillium up here is one of the biggest draws around Michigan. They have more people coming in there than most theaters. So we've done some great PSAs. Our students have made some. We've bought some. So that is one thing that's pretty costly. We've done some billboards. That might be something that might go.
What percentage of your overall budget is that number?
It's a little bit more than half.
So that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah. It is a big deal.
And I say that, because we're on film. There'll be people that are here tonight that will be seeing this, and there's a need there. So at the end of the year, for those that need to donate some money somewhere, it's my understanding, Nick, you're willing to take it?
We have been, we've been in the community for almost 20 years. We started in 1999, so next year is our 20th anniversary. And so we were here before that, and we have such a great passion, Nick and I, and the community does for our youth, that I have no question of whether it's going to continue in some way. So, and we're going to try to do some of the great programs. A lot of the after-school programs that we do, that is our county grant, so those will not go away. It's going to be some of the community, bigger outreach things that we do that we might have to drop for a time anyway.
Sure.
So thank you for asking.
All right, thank you. Now, Nick.
So we also wanted to talk briefly about the newly voted law concerning legalizing marijuana. And while we as the Community Coalition were hoping that it would not get passed, it did. But we also know that communities now can choose to opt out of having the commercial retail within their community. And so as you know, as we just talked about, we are primarily a youth organization, and our prime concerns with substances is the rise of youth use. And so have we seen in other states and other communities that have these retail within their communities, it has shown that youth perception of risk has gone down and youth use has risen right along with those things. So part of that is how much the youth see that in their community. They see that it's okay. They see it's being sold. They see it all around, and so that's why their perception of risk a lot of times goes down. And for that alone, if we were just thinking of that by itself, we feel that the Holly area should consider the opt-out option that they have. And this doesn't prohibit use of marijuana with adults 21 and older on their own. But what it does eliminate is it eliminates the ads, the signs, the storefronts, the displays, and all that goes along with commercialization and industrialization of marijuana. And so you really only have to Google other communities that have those to see what it looks like when those retails come in. As I know, Holly Township has already opted out of the retail side of medical marijuana, along with 108 other communities. And to me, it makes sense to also do that with recreational use. There have been at least 21 other communities in Michigan already that have opted out, and more that are being added almost every month that are being added to that list. And some of those within our area, places like Fenton, Linden, Monroe, Troy, Heartland Township, and Howell. And in fact, if you look at other states that have legalized marijuana already, typically 75 to 80% of those communities choose to opt out of the retail side of it. And so, and when you look at the problems and all the many problems that those communities have had with states that have legalized, so those problems are only coming from 20 to 25% of the states or communities that have opted in. If for some reason fully opting out is not what the board decides. I ask that as a board and as the planning commission, as the whole of the township, that you take a long look at regulations, at zoning, at ordinances that can affect where, when, and how such operations can run their businesses. If that's the case, then I ask you to look at things like buffer zones around things like schools and parks, daycares, residential areas, other things that can be affected as far as students are concerned, especially. And then things like signage, delivery, hours of operation, security, record keeping, many of those performance type standards that should be a part of that. And if you would like, along with that, I can make some of the resources we have available to the board through Supervisor Cullis, and also a list of restrictions and other opt-out ordinances that other communities have adopted already as examples. Again, this wouldn't prohibit the use of marijuana in someone's home that's 21 or older, but would just further prohibit would only prohibit the further commercialization, industrialization and marketing of the drug. And so if we can help in any other way, in meeting in some way, in some other way, we'd be more than happy to get together and do that too. Thank you.
Any questions for Nick?
I'm just curious, have any of those states that have approved retail sales, have they been challenged in court?
They have just started kind of hitting some of those things, but not a lot. And actually, we just talked today to someone that is on the state level of dealing with this, and they actually, his quote was, and so this is his quote, so not coming from me, but he says, don't let the pro-industrialization of this bully you by saying that the law will come after you, because the law is on your side.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you both.
Thank you
for
so
your
much
time.
for your time.
Thank you.
All right. We will move on to reports. Last month I started with Mr. Feeney. This time I'll go to Mr. Ruth.
None for me.
And now I'm back to Mr. Feeney.
All right. Well, our past planning commission meeting, we recommended and sent to the board a wind ordinance. It didn't make it on this agenda. Hopefully it'll make it on the next one. We had our public hearing and everything on it. I think it's a pretty good ordinance on there. We also discussed the garbage bins in the community, and I think we kind of left that to have a couple questions answered. Karen was going to find out a bit from the attorney, so we're still working on that. Pretty much that about covers what we had at the last meeting. Not a great deal. I hope we see the wind ordinance on the next agenda.
It'll be on there.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, then we'll go to the treasurer.
I hired a new deputy treasurer, Suzanne Heipel, and her first day was December 3rd. And we've been training, and she's making good progress.
And the clerk.
No report.
Okay, the supervisor's report. Let me pass these to both directions. Had a meeting this morning with the Erica Kleitz. She is the new director of the SISMA program for Oakland County. What I have passed in front of you is a map, and you'll see Holly Township in the upper left corner there. Those dots represent the areas of treatment. I met with her today. We toured the township, and we'll be getting more specific, a more specific map than that, but it lets you know that we did have treatment throughout the township. These are in the road right-of-ways, and we're going to get more specific on these maps. We talked about how far the treatment was. How do we know exactly where the treatment starts and stops? If you drive through the township, there are so many infestations of Phragmites. Some of them are quite large and quite well established, and then there's others. If you look, you'll see 1 or 2 or 3 stalks that are coming up. The irony is with Phragmites, they spread 30 feet a year, and the roots on Phragmites go 60 feet deep.
Oh my
So this is an invasive species that we've not dealt with before, and it really locks in. And it's a 3-year process of spraying and cutting and spraying again and staying on top of it. So we're going to get very specific with our maps, but I wanted to let you know that this is the 2nd year we've done treatment. A couple of areas that were done for the 2nd time, the corner of Fagan and Laring, which was a big problem. You couldn't see to get around that intersection. So some of those areas have been done. The other thing is we're working on an ordinance with the Planning Commission and with the planner regarding the invasive species so that we can treat it on private property as well. We have a very large infestation on Kurtz Road, which is under the public utilities wires. And I met with Chris Barnett from Orion Township, and he's kind of helping us map the process to get the utility company to treat that as well. The fire potential for this stuff is beyond any grass fire. The flames shoot 60 to 80 feet, and if you ever had a fire in that area, it could take out the power lines for the whole community. So it's something to be concerned about. We're looking at it. This is the meeting I was at last week in Sault Ste. Marie. They had a 2-day annual meeting, and I hope we're going to make some inroads, and I'll be back with more information as we go forward. The other thing in the report, and I'll pass this out, is some statistics we received from the director of iLabs, University of Michigan, Dearborn. They did a study. You'll look down the list. You can see where we trend in a 5-year comparison between the community and between the state as far as percentages. You'll see where our housing has risen 8.2% compared to 5.1% overall for the community. Our industrial numbers are down. We don't have a lot of industrial real estate and commercial real estate in the township. This excludes the village. Those numbers are down, but the overall numbers are up. And then if you look at total government assets, it shows us up 5% versus 2%. And I was talking to Mark, the treasurer, and we feel that that has to do with the acquisition of the property over on Fish Lake. So that's the numbers there. But I wanted to pass that. They rated us a 4-star honored community. So the best would be 5-star. So that's a pretty good rating over that. If you want any more specifics on that, there was a cover letter that went with that, and you're welcome to read that. Then the last part of my report is the road graveling project. This map is pretty big, so it didn't really fit on the copy machine, but you're all welcome to take a look at it. We'll have it posted in the township office so people can see. The pink area on here is what we treated last year. It's a portion of Tinsman, Halsey Road, and a little spot on Grundyke. Those were considered the most severe. This year we completed Tinsman Road. We did Kurtz Road from Grundyke to Eddy Lake Road, and then we did all of Addis Road. The cost of gravel went up. It took more gravel than was anticipated for Tinsman Road, so we didn't reach our goal for this year's graveling. But we'll be reviewing that and come back because we've got 2 more years. The intention was to have that whole northwest quadrant from Grange Hall Road north and North Holly Road west completed in a 3-year project. But as costs go up and the roads swallow up more of that than we expected, we may have to revisit that to see where we are. So that's the end of my report. We will move on to public comment on agenda items only. Members of the public can address the board on agenda items only, once recognized by the supervisor. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. The board may extend this time by a majority vote. Prior to addressing the board, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. A second public comment is available after new business for all other comments. Thank you for your cooperation. Old business, we have none. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, didn't. Suzanne?
Hello, my name is Suzanne Heipel, 210 East Maple Street, Holly. I am the new interim deputy treasurer for the Township of Holly. I'm here today regarding the agenda item asking for training funds. I wish I could have had a few days with our longtime previous deputy treasurer to help me transition into my new job. Unfortunately, Janice has a much bigger challenge to focus her energy on right now. These are big shoes that I'm trying to fill on an interim basis. I promise to do the best job I can for however long that you need me. Proper additional training will help me to do that. My first day of work was literally the day that the winter taxes went out. Under the circumstances, Mr. Freeman has done an incredible job. I'm impressed by how much patience he has with me and all my questions, and how calm he appears to be while dealing with the many, 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 many interruptions. However, he's trying to show me how to do my job while he's also trying to do his job and the deputy treasurer duties and answer all the phone calls, plus help everybody who walks in the door, all during one of the busiest times of the year. This is not the best of conditions or environment to try to absorb the important necessary functions of my new position. With approved funding, I can take advantage of the BS&A classes that are available, as well as the generous offers from other deputy treasurers in the area to provide me with individualized and uninterrupted LAM and other software system training. This additional training will benefit the Township of Holly and the taxpayers by helping to minimize learning curve errors and help me to be more efficient as soon as possible. It's always worth it to invest in training, not only for new employees like me, but everyone should be encouraged to attend refresher courses and relevant classes whenever possible. There are always new things to learn and new information available to help all of us do the best job we can for the Township of Holly. For these reasons, I respectfully request that you approve the funding for training that is on the agenda today. It's all I want for Christmas. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Mr. Engelberg?
Tony Engelberg, 115 Cogshell. I just wanted to add a couple things to Pat's report, but also first wish Pat a happy birthday. For 93 years old, you look pretty good.
I thought so too.
And congratulate Suzanne on her position. I've been in the office a couple times while she's been there scrambling around helping people with a smile on her face. And for however long we have her, I think she's going to do a terrific job. As far as Planning Commission stuff, so just so the public knows, our meeting is January 15th this coming month. And we have a public hearing on chickens that day. And the reason I'm making sure we get that out there is my email and some Facebook comments came up about the wind ordinance, that basically people were thinking that the township was trying to just rush something through or slide something through. And I got a little bit irked because at our public hearing for the wind ordinance, not one person showed up. And we've been talking about it for the better part of about 6 months. So, and there was discussion that, and I'd like to put to rest the rumors that the township is trying to encourage giant wind farms to come to Holly. That's something that's been floating around out there, and that's completely untrue. And anybody who looks at any of the data and the scientific evidence would actually see that Holly Township is not really a good area for a giant wind farm. We don't have the flat space. We don't have the wind. Some of our residents, such as myself, might produce some, but not enough to push a wind turbine. So the bottom line is chickens and other communities have been a pretty heated thing at times, although I think that what we're planning on doing is going to make things less restrictive and better for everybody. But if people have concerns, 6:30 p.m. January 15th, I would like to see a full house here for that. So that's all. Thank you.
I think it's important to note, just to follow with what Tony said, the whole wind and solar energy ordinances were started because we actually had a request that came into the office for solar, not for wind. And in order to answer those questions, you have to have something on your books in order for somebody to know what the restrictions are if they want to do that. And that's what started this whole thing. It had no intention. It's more of a protection and getting our ducks in a row in the event that somebody comes forward. That's all that was. So, thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we don't have any old business. We will go to new business. The first 4 things on new business are appointments to boards, and I was working from about 4:15 this evening till literally before we walked out the door, trying to confirm all of the names, getting people to return phone calls, and I'm happy to say that I got the last phone call on the way out the door. So we have an appointment of 2 planning commissioners. The terms are ending for Ted Gursky. We want to take this opportunity to thank Ted for his service. I know he's got some physical challenges that he's working on, and I'm on the wrong page. Hang on. For Ted, and we will be Stacy Steckley will be renewing her tenure on the Planning Commission. As these people get training and experience, it's always nice to know that they will continue to serve our township. So Stacy Steckley is one name I'm bringing forward. Do we want to vote on these individually, or?
I think you'll have to do each item.
Each item,
Yeah.
but
I think
under Planning Commission, do
Right.
we want to do 2 names at one time or each name individually?
the difficulty with that is if someone wants to vote yes on one and no on the
Okay,
other.
then we'll just do each one. So I would make a motion to approve Stacy Steckley for another Planning Commission term, which would end in December 31st of 2021.
Support.
So it is moved by Supervisor Cullis, support by Trustee Feeney, to have Stacy Steckley serve another 3-year term. Do we need roll call on this, or can we do it? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second name for Planning Commission, this is the seat that was held by Ted Gursky. That seat will be filled by Ray Curtin. And just so you know, all of these people have confirmed and said yes. So I would make a motion to approve Ray Curtin for the Planning Commission. That term expires December 31st of 2021.
Support.
And it is supported by Treasurer Freeman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now we can go to the 2 Zoning Board of Appeal members. And let me move over here to my notes. On this particular one, we have, again, Ted Gursky. His term ends December 31st. He would be replaced by Chuck Stoner. So I would bring Chuck's name forward in a motion to approve a term that would go through 2021.
Support.
Support by Treasurer Freeman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second seat on that is held by Alan Motsney. He has agreed to stay on and serve for 3 more years. So I would make a motion to approve Alan Motsney.
Support.
Support by Clerk Winchester. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, the resignation of Bob LeClaire left an opening. That one goes through December 31st of 2020 as opposed to 2021 like the other ones. And I'm bringing forward Tim Turpening's name to fill that position. Tim ran for a seat on Village Council. If some of you saw him at the Meet the Candidates night, and Tim has agreed to fill that 2-year seat. So my motion is to approve Tim Turpening.
Support.
Support by Treasurer Freeman. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So that takes care of the zoning board of appeals. Number 3 is the board of review.
Isn't there a second one?
Let's say, I feel like you did.
Didn't you say 2 board of, for members?
Chuck Stoner and Alan Motsney.
Yeah, and then you added Bob Leclerc's. I didn't have that on the agenda.
Yeah, that's
Well, Bob was the one that
Resigned.
resigned, and I filled that with Tim Turpin.
That's new to me, so I didn't know you had another one. I only put 2.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we just did a motion and passed it, so where does that leave us?
That,
Stuck?
that's
No.
fine.
No, we did one for Tim. So
We
there
did
were 3
3.
spots, right?
The vacancy, so it was a vacancy of,
It was a vacancy.
right.
Right.
But you're saying it wasn't on the agenda?
Well, it's
Are
a
there
2,
two-
so,
Is there 2 total?
No, there are 3.
Okay,
3 total, and we
so-
did Chuck and we did Tim,
So
so
we-
there's
Okay.
still 1 spot there, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
so
all
can
do
we
is
agree
not-
to amend the agenda to
Just to
say
3.
3?
It's the easiest.
But do
That's-
you have someone?
I gave you all 3. We did Chuck,
Right.
and we did Alan Motsney. Those were the 2. Then to fill the empty chair of Bob Leclerc was Tim Turpin. That makes 3.
Okay.
Okay, because it sounded like the one, okay, yeah, I was
So
thinking
let's-
it was,
Let's-
we're gonna have to amend the,
the
agenda.
So I'd move to amend the agenda on new business item number 2 to read appointment of 3 zoning board of appeals members.
Well, no, it's gonna have to be a
terms,
sep.
2 terms ending 12/31/2021 and 1 term ending 12/31/2020.
right.
Okay.
And McClure is the one that we're,
Right.
Well, we
Tim
already
Turpin,
accepted
yeah.
his resignation at the last meeting.
okay, so, and who, now, okay, just to make it clear to everybody.
Tim Turpin.
Is replacing him.
So now we
That's
want
what
to
I
make
said.
another motion and do
Okay.
that over again.
Okay.
So do we want the motion for to amend the agenda first?
No, we already did, we just did that.
Who supported?
Okay, you made the motion. Who supported?
Oh, I don't know.
I'll support.
Yeah.
Let's get all
Support.
So Ruth, all in favor?
Who's,
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
who's
Okay,
the
it was
supporter?
Winchester Ruth.
Okay.
Cleared. So now to revisit the Tim Turpinning. I brought that forward. Mark Freeman supported it. Do you want to support it again?
Support?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So then we go to Board of Review members.
It says,
2.
it says appeals alternate member. Number 4?
There was a new.
No, number 3. Number 3 is 2 Board of Review members.
Okay.
Now, that would be,
It says appeal, okay, it says appeals.
There was another agenda
Did you
in
get
the
your
front of
new-
you. George brought that to my attention when you sat down. Fix that.
I know, it's a little confusing,
That's
because I had the same
same
thing.
number, just the way it's written.
Well, what you'll find is, we did that, and then number
Should be
4
se-
got
should be
changed
7 items on it.
to Board of Review alternate,
New business.
Yeah, okay, so I
Both
have
of
the,
those.
I have the alternate.
depending on which agenda you're looking, if you're looking at the most recent. So, for that one, Cindy Kreiner, who has served on the Board of Review, will be, now, those terms only go to 2020? They're just 2-year terms?
2-year terms, yeah.
Okay, so Cindy Kreiner will be going to 2020, and she has agreed to continue. So I make a motion to put Cindy Kreiner, or to continue her seat.
Support.
It is moved by Supervisor Cullis, support by Clerk Winchester, for Cindy Kreiner to go from January 1st of 2019 to December 31st of 2020. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The second name on there, he has agreed to continue serving on that board through 2020, December 31st, is Chuck Stoner. Supervisor makes a motion to approve Chuck Stoner.
Support.
Support by Treasurer Freeman. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, if you go down to number 4, on the newest one that was in front of you, it's the Board of Review alternate member, and that goes through 2020 as well. And that is Lori Goldsmith. She has also agreed to stay. So I would bring Lori Goldsmith forward in a motion.
Support.
Support by Treasurer Freeman. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. So we got through that one. And I want to thank all of those people for agreeing to stay on and serve the community in that capacity. I want to welcome Ray Curtin to the Planning Commission, and we want to thank Ted Gursky for his service to the community as well. He was on there for many years, is my understanding. Okay, so number 5, appointment of a member to the Bush Lake Lake Improvement Board. I received a letter on the 14th from the Water Resource Commissioner, Jim Nash. His office, it was actually from John Bash, which is a senior attorney. They want to dissolve the Lake Improvement Board for Bush Lake. There hasn't been anything go on with that board for 13 years. But before they can do that, they currently show Township Board Supervisor Dale Smith as a board member. They asked us to put it on our agenda to replace Dale with me formally, so they can go forward with that dissolution.
You have to be appointed before you can dissolve it?
Yes.
That makes sense.
Well, because
Have to have
Dale's
an-
not on the commission.
Right.
Well, I know, but
Did he think that all the other members would be able to dissolve it?
yeah.
Yeah.
But they probably want all members present.
I'm sure they do.
Mhm.
Yep. So we just this just came in the office. Well, you can see the letter was dated December 14th, but I didn't think it was that big a deal. It was just a technical. So I had him put it on the agenda.
Sure.
I would move to appoint Supervisor Cullis to the Bush Lake Lake Improvement Board.
Support.
So it's moved by Clerk Winchester, support by Treasurer Freeman. Any further discussion? Because that's a board, does that need to be a roll call? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so that takes care of that. Item number 5, approval of interim deputy treasurer position. That has posed some confusing questions over the weeks. I know because of our 5-member board, I've stayed out of that conversation that was between the clerk and the treasurer as far as putting that together. I know there was a conversation with the attorney. It was on the board agenda the last meeting. You pulled it off. It's back on now. The confusion is we've announced the position, we've announced her, we've introduced her. People had asked why now are we approving it, so I thought perhaps you could shed some light on that for
Sure.
us.
This is the authorities and responsibilities of Michigan Township boards and commissions by MTA. It's what we call the Little Red Book. Prescribes how, by law, we're supposed to operate. Under deputies, the township board's not involved in the appointment of the deputy. So the treasurer and the clerk have the exclusive authority to hire whoever they want to, and they're legally required to hire a deputy to serve in the absence of the treasurer or the clerk. But if you want, they're supposed to be serving, that just approves them to serve in the absence of the clerk or the treasurer. With the approval of the township board, the deputy may assist in performing the treasurer's duty at any additional times agreed upon between the deputy and the deputy treasurer. So I would make a motion to approve the authorization of the deputy treasurer to work all hours agreed upon between the treasurer and the deputy treasurer.
Support.
So motion to approve by Treasurer Freeman. Who wants to support on it? You and Steve jumped in so
Steve
fast.
can have it.
So we'll call it Trustee Ruth. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I have, we need a little bit more clarification as a board. I agree with Mark. However, well, let me back up. So I agree that he has sole right to appoint who he wants. And then the hours would be approved by the board. I spoke to him and gave him some information from the Michigan Townships Association attorney with regard to that. And I said before he hired somebody, it should go to the board. And he didn't on his own. He did a publication in the newspaper for the position, and he said it was full-time, without giving the board any opportunity to make any adjustments and talk about the things that we've talked about, the positions within the township, and divvying up the workload accordingly. We talked about when we were talking about the code enforcement officer. And I think that should have been done. This shouldn't have been a unilateral decision without the board. The prior deputy treasurer was approved as full-time only under the condition that she was going to take on additional duties and that she was going to do grant writing. And because she had the 10 years experience at that time, we had been over that for months and months, so that needed to be discussed. There was a great deal of things that needed to be discussed on what's best for the township. But Mark took it upon himself to set the salary based on the budget line item. I don't think it was the intent of the board to blanket approve an amount for anybody. It's very disturbing to me, and this is not anything personal, but that somebody was hired at the same rate of pay as the other deputy which is, she has entry-level experience. She does not have the experience that the other one did. She's hired at the same amount of money as my deputy that's been with the township for 12 years and took on 2 additional duties since the downturn with no additional money. $7,000 more than the code enforcement officer / assistant supervisor. I just think that's wrong. We've been put in a liable situation because it's already been done. The treasurer removed it off of the agenda last month, which it should have been discussed prior to the new person coming in and working any hours. It was a natural assumption and a very aggressive move as far as I'm concerned, just to allow her to come into work. Then the township's liable to pay whatever he said the pay was. It wasn't up to the board. And that's just not right. And it's not right, and I think, you know, everybody has a right to be concerned about that.
Can I speak on this? May I speak on this?
Sure.
Okay, well, number one, as it goes for workload, let's just discount that because that has nothing to do with the treasurer's position. That was something that was given to the clerk's department, and the question has been raised by members about whether those, when the economic times were down, it was felt that combining that was the best thing financially to do. Now that things are better, we have proposed the idea that we might bring back that position and take that workload away. So that wouldn't be taking anything away from the clerk. That is the definition of what the clerk's position is. Second, if by law he has a right to hire somebody, the amount for that position's already been established. Now, is there anything in the statement of when that amount was set that says, well, must be determined by ability. I doubt it, and I doubt the clerk's assistant deputy clerk's position either. If you were to go out to hire a new deputy clerk for whatever reason right now, that clerk would be well entitled to the amount of money that's being paid by the current deputy
And
clerk.
that's not what I did when I hired my second deputy.
Well, that was your choice. Then
No,
that was
it's
your
not.
choice
The
on
board-
it.
It was the board's decision.
Number one,
not
the
unilaterally
amount
its
of money that was budgeted for that position, he's not asking for any more. He's not asking for any less. That's what he asked. That's what he determined. If the law gives him that ability to hire somebody, it's up to him to determine if that's the correct amount for that. Disturbing, I don't know. I guess the way I look at it is that the way I look at the law is that he could hire somebody, and what he's bringing before us is the only thing that the board really has to consider, and that's for training and approving any more pay as it goes for the number of hours worked, and that the area which he's asking is the only area that he doesn't have exclusive rights for.
But he's
The
not
hiring
asking,
and
he
firing and
already
when
hired it. He already
No,
hired her
no.
at
What he's
that rate.
asking for is the training, money for the training.
We're not
and
on
he's
that yet.
Okay, we're not on that yet, but that's what he has
Yes.
asked for. But the fact you're saying that he shouldn't hire at that amount, that's his prerogative.
No, it's a line item in the budget. That doesn't.
And it's
we
the
have
budget
line-
has been
let me-
approved.
I'm
No,
gonna
no,
answer.
you interrupted
Okay,
me.
all right.
The budget has already been approved for that amount. Now, whether we like that he's going to spend the whole budget on that, he's not violating the budget. He's not asking for anything more that I see. So, quite frankly, there's nothing to be discussed about it. There's the budget. His department was given that amount of money, and he's operating within that. So what I was saying is that the only thing that we have to say is about the training, money paying for the training, whether we want to do that, and the I guess what we call the corresponding times of working, and whether we're going to pay, having the person do that. The actual budget, it's already been approved. It's there. I mean, we could not come back and say you hired somebody and you paid them the exact same amount of money that you paid the previous deputy. We would have no right to say anything about that either because it's already been budgeted. Now, if we were in the budget process and he came forward, then we could say, hey, Mark, you might have hired her for that, but this is what we're going to budget for. We already did it. And quite frankly, I don't think the amounts are no offense, Susan, but I don't see in the private sector, you could probably do better. Even an entry-level person could probably do better on the money end of it. I'm going to assume Mark probably had some difficulty in probably trying to attract anybody to the job. Because I cannot see for the amount of money that we're offering that you're going to find anybody with a lot of experience. Quite frankly, I'm going to just state this, and I will leave it at that. This has less to do with the actual hire than other issues that have happened between board members here. And I believe that's really what brought this forth. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here discussing this. It would be approved and would be moving on here. And quite frankly, I think what's wrong is to be grinding an axe on this issue when the problems are concerning other areas. And I will let that rest right there.
Well, that is completely untrue, your statement.
No, wait a sec, you're saying untrue. No, that's what I believe.
Okay, well.
That's what I
that's
believe
not
now.
what's
You know what?
All right.
And
Patrick,
you're
you
getting with the
Patrick.
untrue. If you want to make a statement that I said something that was untrue, that's my opinion. And quite frankly, I can tell you right now, Karen, there's other people who have perceived this to be exactly that. So it's not just my feeling on it, but I'm only expressing
Thank you for your
mine.
opinion. Now, are you done?
Karen, you have complained in the past about me interrupting, and you were correct. But you know what? Practice what you preach.
Okay.
And
will.
quite frankly, if you have an axe to grind, do it elsewhere, not on this issue. It's to bring this about and to cause any issues here is only hurting the efficiency of the Treasurer's Department and in the end, our constituents. Because a poorly run treasurer's is not beneficial to the public. And quite frankly, I do not see what the reason why we need to be going through this. If you have a problem with other areas, with members of the board, deal with it there. This should end right here and now. And, you know, the merits of it are you're bringing up a budget that's already been approved. You're challenging the law, which says the man has the right to pick who he wants. And, you know, it's petty. That's, and like I said, next time, practice what you preach. Do not interrupt. And when someone is expressing their opinion, do not call that a lie, a falsehood. That's their opinion. Thank you.
Do I have the floor now?
All right.
You can have whatever you want.
Okay. One, just because we approved a budget does not mean that you can spend those line items. We have a, for instance, the barn project has its own line item. That had to come before the board before we spent any of that money. I am not challenging the law. I know the law. We've talked about this with the attorney. He can appoint whoever he wants, and I'm quite pleased with his person. This is not personal. What I have a problem with is that it was done without board approval, and you can't just rubber stamp an amount. That just doesn't happen. That's not the way that it works. You have to take this stuff to the board. And
All
it
right.
should have been discussed what's best for the township and the taxpayers' money. And maybe it would have been that was the salary. But then we've set a precedence. If that's the entry level, then we have to deal with the issues that we have within our office now and the people that have been there and served and have the knowledge that they have now and the jobs that they do. And you're right. And no, it wasn't. It was well, it doesn't even matter about the other stuff, but that's how I feel. And I really think that the board should approve. Obviously, he's already done it. He's made the township liable for that salary, but it should be only for the interim amount of time until February 25th. And if she's to serve more, and he wants to appoint her as the deputy treasurer, we need to talk about this as a board and set the salaries accordingly. We should be looking at salary entry level, mid, experience, if that's the way that we're going to do.
Okay. I do have a couple of questions for clarification as we talk about opinion versus fact. The word appointment and hire has been thrown out. The treasurer has the sole right to appoint. Does it say that you have the right to hire at the same time? Is it using both words?
Legally, it's called an appointment.
So it is an appointment.
It's an appointment.
So just if you'll help me clarify, then I have 3 questions. Because at the last board, I know this was going on, you and Karen, you were talking to the attorney. The attorney had called me and told me that she had it worked out, because she called me to ask what my opinion was, and I said that I was hoping the 2 of you could work it out with her. So she asked me, and I said, all I want you to do is inform me where we end up on this. What's our legal position? So she called me and said that things had been worked out, that you had agreed, and that we were going to need to hold a special meeting so we could go through this appointment of the interim. I came in on that Monday morning, and she was already there in the position, as a matter of fact, being sworn in as I walked in the door. So I wasn't sure what had happened in the interim. I am curious then, why did you pull it off the agenda at the last meeting? What was the reasoning behind there?
Because
you did it the minute you found out Steve wasn't going to be at the meeting, so that concerns me, because it makes him look bad.
No. I was pulling it off of the agenda already before that, as soon as I saw it on the agenda.
But you had asked to put it on the agenda, right?
No.
But you agreed that...
No, that was Karen that put it on the agenda, correct, Craig?
Per the attorney, it's by
The
law,
attorney, I
the
think,
board
was.
has to approve the hours, and with hours comes pay.
Right, and that's the motion on the table.
Okay.
But-
Well, this is the discussion part of that motion. I'm just trying to get clarification
Okay,
because
so where's the pay part of
I'm
that
t-
motion?
I'm
There
telling you,
isn't.
Why? It's just a blanket, you can pay
Is
her
it-
whatever you want?
No, the budget was already passed, the cost center was already set 6 months ago.
But that doesn't mean you can spend the money just like that. That's
okay,
not how
so-
budgets
So
work.
the motion, let me just, for clarification, so that we don't get off track. The motion we have on the floor is to approve the interim deputy treasurer position.
No,
No?
no. The motion is to approve the authorization of the deputy treasurer to work all hours agreed upon between the treasurer and the deputy treasurer.
Okay,
And that's right out of here.
okay.
So
but-
that's the only thing the board approves.
Right. That's, so my
And
point,
so that is what that agenda item is for.
correct. But, so all
You-
I'm trying
You
to,
can't expand an agenda item.
I'm not expanding it.
I know, I'm just saying.
I'm trying to clarify what, I'm not against you. I'm trying to clarify what we have.
George, don't try to make it into something like
I'm not
that.
trying to make it anything. I'm trying to clarify what we have. Can I finish? What I'm trying to clarify is this number 6 doesn't say anything about salary, does it?
No.
That's what I'm trying to clarify. So
That's-
I'm not trying to make it
Doesn't say
anything.
anything about
I'm trying to
hours
clarify
either.
it for
That's-
Pat.
It's
That's the
open-ended.
motion that I made.
It's
That's correct.
open-ended.
And that's what I'm trying to clarify. I'm trying to keep us exactly on track so that we don't make this something more than it is. So the motion, so that we're clear, would you read it one last time?
Motion to approve the authorization of the deputy treasurer to work all hours agreed upon between the treasurer and the deputy treasurer. That's
That's
the
the
one
motion?
thing, yes, that's the motion.
And that's the motion by Treasurer Freeman, and it was seconded by Steve Ruth. Or Trustee Ruth, sorry. Is there
Did you
any
second?
other discussion
Steve?
on that
What's
motion?
that?
Did you second my motion?
Yeah,
I think so. But
he did. Well, he and Pat did it simultaneously
Yes,
at the
yes.
same
That's right.
time.
That's okay.
And Pat acquiesced to Steve, so I have it down that way.
Okay.
And I had asked for discussion. I felt that we got off the tangent, so I wanted to clarify that this was about the interim deputy treasurer position, not about salary.
Nope.
That's what you clarified with the additional words you had there.
That's correct.
So that's all I was doing, was to clarify. That being said, roll call, please. I'm sorry. Any further discussion, Steve?
No,
Oh, I thought I heard you speak.
I'm just trying to remember what the motion
Okay.
is.
Okay.
Patrick Feeney,
Yes.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Mark Freeman,
Yes.
Karen Winchester,
No.
George Pellis,
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, now, number 7 is a request for funding. And it's my understanding that's yours?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm requesting funding for an independent contractor to assist me in training my new deputy treasurer, not to exceed $2,000. As an example, 80 hours of training at $25 an hour would equal $2,000, but I'm asking to not exceed 2,000, meaning it could be less than that. So, as an example, if it paid for 5 hours of training per week for 16 weeks, which is approximately 4 months, which would be January through April, that would come out to the $2,000, and that would be the maximum. So the emphasis is on the year-end tax settlement that we do each year, which is done in April.
Who's providing that training?
I have one person that had over 10 years of deputy treasurer experience that is interested, but they would be hired as an independent contractor. They're not going to be an employee of Holly Township. Be
Okay.
like our building inspector.
So, in the comment that Suzanne brought forward, she said the training was for, did you say BSA? Were these
No.
classes she'd be taking?
That's paid for out of her cost center under training. The
Okay,
classes.
So she was advocating for something different than
No,
your
I think she misunderstood. The classes that she's already attended are paid for out of her cost center that has funds approved for training.
Okay, I just wanted to make that clarification because it was out there.
Right. No, this is for on-site training.
Okay, so this is separate from the training she spoke of.
That's correct.
Okay.
Those were classes that are,
That's
the
what I
money
thought.
was appropriated in the cost center for all of us
Right.
for further education.
I was just trying to clarify
Mhm.
where we were at.
Right.
you going to make a motion?
Motion to approve not to exceed $2,000 for training for the treasurer, for the training of the new deputy treasurer.
Support.
So motion to approve $2,000 for additional training outside the classes. That's not part of the motion, though. Read that motion. I know you've got it written specific.
I didn't for that one.
Oh,
Motion to approve the funding not to exceed $2,000 for the training of the deputy treasurer by an independent contractor.
and that was supported by Trustee Freeman. Is there any further discussion? None appearing? Roll call, please.
Steve Ruth,
Yes.
Patrick Feeney,
Yes.
Karen Winchester,
No.
George Cullis,
Yes.
Mark Freeman.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to public comment at the close. This can be on any items, not just agenda items. Looks like Mary's getting ready to get up.
Mary Blanchard, 3444 Old Creek Drive, Holly, Michigan. And at the October Township Board meeting, the Township Workshop was discussed. Supervisor Cullis explained that the Township Workshop is open to the public to attend and to have input on topics to be discussed. He said that at Trustee Feeney's request, the workshop was held in the evening so that more people from the public could attend. Unfortunately, no members from the public attended. I personally did not know of the township, that the township held workshops, or that the public could attend and make comments. I was out of town, or out of state for 2 weeks in September and missed the September board meeting, so I did not know that the workshop, if it was announced at that meeting. And I know that some of the people here come regularly, but a lot of the people who come regularly are not here. So I just wonder if there are people here who did know about that workshop when it was held, and if they knew that public could have input. I have brought a sheet of paper, and if anybody would like to sign this, that we could maybe submit it to the township so that we could be notified when this meeting or any other special meetings come up, as far as letting us know to be able to attend.
The workshop you're speaking of was which one?
I believe it was on the budget.
No,
September?
it was the,
Today's
that
10-4.
was on the, offer on the
Township.
township
Yeah.
hall.
Okay.
That was it.
Oh, okay.
But we do have a workshop, do we not, for the budget.
Right.
Every year.
The
Every
workshop
year.
is for the budget.
Okay.
Special meetings are primarily if something requires board action and it can't wait till the next board meeting.
And
Is the public invited to that as well?
All of them are public
all of the
meetings.
Yeah,
meetings are
everything's-
posted on the
yeah.
website.
Right.
All of the meetings are posted
Mhm.
on the township office, the police department, the library, and the village.
Not the police department.
Not the police department,
Mhm.
so it's the
That's the
village, the
village.
library, and the township hall,
Okay.
where we typically post. And then those meetings are there, and they are announced ahead of time.
Okay. How much ahead of time?
Usually at a meeting like this, we would announce the budget workshop for next month, is that correct?
Mhm.
We usually have the budget workshop in April.
April,
May.
Say all meeting dates are listed on the website as well.
How much advance time do we give for special meetings?
Well, the
As
law
much as
says 18
possible.
hours.
Yeah,
Right.
Whatever's legally required.
But we give as much as possible.
Okay. If I were to have people sign this, could we submit it and people could let us know either by phone call or email?
No,
Ahead.
it'd be too difficult to send emails or phone
Okay.
calls, but it is on,
It,
it's on the
it may not,
website.
it may not sound too difficult when you say there's 3 or 4 people,
Yeah.
but
when
if
it
the
gets-
township starts filling that out, all I had to do tonight was call, I think, 7 people, or get confirmation from 7 people, and it took me 2 hours just to get through. And one of them I only made because I called somebody that knew somebody that could go over because the phone was busy.
Okay.
And I knew they had teenagers, so.
So the best way is just to check the website.
Check the website. We usually publish it in a meeting. Now our meetings are videotaped, so people have an opportunity to look at the meeting whenever they have time.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Any other public comment?
I have a comment.
Steve?
Well, from briefly looking at that MTA guide, it looks like it's very specific for the original hiring of a deputy, but it doesn't talk about if a deputy takes a leave of absence, what to do.
Well, if there is a part in there where if, for whatever reason, if a new deputy treasurer or deputy clerk takes the oath of office, they, at that moment, are now the new deputy, and the previous deputy is no longer the deputy. That happens at that instant that the oath is taken.
Okay.
Regardless of the reasons for the absence.
But we
I was
gave her
referring to
medical
salary
leave.
and
I mean,
hours and all that. Yeah.
She's
That
entitled
was
to
part
her
of
job.
Yeah.
That was part of legal concern because we gave her medical leave. So it got dicey. As the attorney said, she said, my job is to give you advice. I can't make you take it. So that brought us to where we are, and we've gone through our motions for tonight.
Okay.
Okay? Any other public comment?
And just a footnote, Mary, on workshop, no votes are taken at a workshop. We discuss the budget, and then all that information is compiled, and then the budget is created, and it's voted on the next board meeting.
Amy Folk, 6053 Great Lakes Drive. I am the current code enforcement officer and assistant to the supervisor. It is my understanding that you started process on your policies and procedures some time ago, and that process has been yet to end. You've not approved any new policies or procedures, which should include the, I don't know how to say it properly, but the guide to how you go about paying your employees. As an employee, I made a huge mistake in taking a position and a raise that actually, when you look at my hours compared to before I did that, I actually took a demotion. I actually make less now and work more. And there's been an entire debacle over the last year or so, and it's something that needs to be addressed by the board. And as one of your employees, and as somebody that has attended all of your meetings, however, in the last 2 years, it's something that needs to be addressed so that not only the taxpayers are taken care of, but your employees are taken care of as well. So as a taxpayer and as a township employee, I would like you to address the policies and procedures prior going into your budget workshops.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I'd like to just address Suzanne. Suzanne, this is nothing personal, and I just want you to know I think you're a great person. Please don't take it personally.
Okay. Anyone else? Well, I want to take this opportunity. It is December 19th. We have a week before Christmas is here. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll be back to do it again in January. So, thank you. We'll adjourn this meeting at 7:50.
There's one other comment. I didn't bring it up.
No, you can't do that now. I adjourn the meeting.
Sorry, right there.
Right. That's
right. Oh, you're welcome. Welcome.
See you in the morning.
Yeah, you sure you still want the job after all that? That's okay.
When the budget is passed,
Right.
approved all the salaries for all the cost centers.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I also agree that you're not paying by experience, it's paying by the job.
Well, it's not the person.